to this edition of Like Nobody's Business. I'm Mary Beth Sewald with the Las Vegas Metro Chamber of Commerce, and we welcome you to the show today. It is no secret that Las Vegas is one of the convention center capitals of the world, and we are so fortunate today to have with us the Executive Vice President of Convention and Business Operations for the National Association of Broadcasters, Mr. Chris Brown. Chris, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Mary Beth. Great to be here.
We really appreciate it. You know, the NAB Show has been such a staple for the Las Vegas community for a long time. Can you give us a little bit about information about the history of the NAB Show in Las Vegas and what it means to you to be here?
Sure, yeah. We've had a great partnership with Las Vegas for a long, long time. Been coming here since the 1970s and have been here continuously since 1991. So we're putting us at about 28 years straight now. Here in Las Vegas, and it makes perfect sense for us to be here because, you know, this is one of the few cities, if not the only city in the country that can really accommodate a show of the magnitude of our event, and happy to say that we have one of the largest, you know, in North America at over 100,000 participating attendees, 1,800 exhibitors, and a show that covers over 1 million square feet. So first and foremost, we need space to do that, and Las Vegas has not just one, but several great convention facilities, and we're happy to be each year in the Las Vegas Convention Center that will cover our 1 million and more. It's got 150,000 hotel rooms that are within a couple miles of that convention center. No other city can really offer that, and they're not only that, but they're great hotel rooms and a whole variety of them. So just the whole package from hotel properties to restaurants and entertainment that provide a great environment for all our folks once they're here. It's a fun place to come, which is great. That helps us get people here. And getting people in and out is important. You have a great airport, you know, an international airport that will draw people from all over the world. And our show is a very global event. We have almost 30% of our attendees that come from outside the U.S., so really important that they be able to get in and out easily. And so again, Vegas has just an amazing package, and the city, you know, has always been great to work with, you know, up and down, and we're super happy now to be a partner with the Chamber of Commerce as well.
Well, excellent. We're thrilled to have you as a partner at the Las Vegas Metro Chamber as well. We love the NAB and the NAB Show and everything that you all do for our community and for the economy, because as you said, NAB Show is a global entity, and you bring in folks from all over the world, and we just couldn't be happier, you know, to have you here and what you bring to our community. So thank you again for that.
Thank you.
You talked about the amount of space that you have and that you need. That begs the question, you know, the Las Vegas Convention Center we just launched our expansion there. Mm-hmm. So what kind of role have you played in that, and how will that affect the NAB Show?
Well, the Convention Authority has been great in terms of taking a look at how to expand that facility the right way. And they've involved a whole bunch of parties in that discussion, and we've been fortunate to be among those. And they're basically, what they're doing is just asking customers like us, you know, what is it that you do need, you know, and what are you thinking will happen in the future and what will be important in the future. And from our standpoint, it's not just about the space, it's also about the kind and quality of space that you have. It's about the technology that's available in the convention center. You know, the good old days of just, you know, folks just sort of rolling in a wheeled bag or something and just kind of popping up an exhibit are long, long gone. The exhibits that our folks put up over at these shows are incredibly sophisticated, require a lot of technology, whether that's, you know, bandwidth in terms of internet coverage and or telecommunications, those kinds of things. Very sophisticated. So the convention centers of the future, you know, have to be able to really accommodate that, not just the needs now, but what they're going to be in 20 or 30 years.
How many days of setup does it take to set up for the NAB Show?
We're about 10 days, actually 2 weeks when you think of everything that goes into it.
That's really extensive.
It is, yeah. It's, again, 1,800 exhibitors, some of them with some very large exhibits that are almost essentially like building, you know, small towns when they ultimately get down to it. Mm-hmm.
Well, wow, you know, when I think about Las Vegas, we're so proud of our city, and there are so many robust entities here. Are there any key audiences, you know, broadcasters, live production, and so forth, that are in the Las Vegas community itself that are valuable to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, this is a great entertainment city. And I think first and foremost, obviously, what people know and think about relative to Vegas are all the great live entertainment shows and events that occur here. And that just keeps expanding, right? With T-Mobile, with new venues that are going in, lots and lots of technology that go into those, and that's all very pertinent to our show. The actual sports teams and programs themselves all have their own production crews and teams and facilities. Those are all very pertinent to our show, and we want all of those folks to be plugged in to what we're doing. But there's also a great fundamental broadcast community here in Las Vegas. Happy to say that the current chairwoman of our association is Caroline Beasley, runs Beasley Broadcast. Beasley has several stations here in the local market, so just by that we're very engaged and involved in the local community and the local market, and certainly those are all folks that I'm sure have participated in our show and we want them to. But beyond that, it's, if you're involved in the production business, our show ultimately is really all about video entertainment. It's all about video and audio entertainment. So if you're a professional in that field, and for whatever medium you're creating for, if that's live, if that's television production, if that's film production, there is technology, there are programs, there are services. They're all going to be of interest to you at our show. So we want to plug into all of that here locally.
Well, and that brings up another question. You talked about all the sports teams that are coming to town, and we're all very proud of that, of course, the Raiders, as you mentioned. Are there specific benefits that from a convention standpoint that really impacts you to a degree that you would really want to stay in Las Vegas for the long run?
Yeah, again, the opportunity to kind of engage and or partner with those types of organizations. For example, even if it's just as simple as having members of the Raiders organization participating in our show, coming over and speaking to our audience about the kinds of things they're doing from a production or technology perspective. I mean, as well as I mean, the way these stadiums are being built now and the level of sophisticated technology that's being built in, the way these organizations are trying to now engage their audiences more through, not only in-stadium types of technology, but pre and post types of social media and other types of media. It's really, really getting interesting. A lot happening there. And so there's a lot for us to be able to learn from them. And I hope a lot that we can bring to them in terms of what they might see at our event. Okay,
sounds good. Once again, we're here with Chris Brown. He is the mastermind behind the NAB Show, which is one of the top 10, arguably one of the top 10 conventions here in Las Vegas. And from a convention standpoint, and again, that's the lifeblood of Las Vegas, so we're so happy to have you here. What would you say, Chris, you are most excited about for this year's show in Las Vegas?
Well, it's an incredibly interesting time in the media business. There's just a lot of change, and the change is happening extremely rapidly now. And a lot of that's driven by new consumer behaviors. A lot of it is driven by new technologies that have been introduced that have kind of now allowed people really to consume content anywhere and at any time. It's changed the whole dynamic of really media consumption. And so as an industry, what we're seeing is a whole, the various pieces of the industry having to really adjust to that to make sure that they can accommodate that and that they can still reach viewers, as I said, when and where they want that content. So what that's done is it's really created a whole new set of devices, a whole new set of technologies that are now more important than ever. The internet is the key. It's the thing that sort of really disrupted all of this, and not just our industry, but a lot, of course. But with the onset of the internet, you have now companies that are streaming. So streaming technologies have become extremely important to us, which has also bubbled up a whole new range of players in our business. Our show, when you look way back to what it used to be, would have been companies and brands that you'd recognize pretty easily. Sony, Panasonic, camera manufacturers, microphone manufacturers, that type of thing. Now we have Google and Facebook, companies like YouTube, again, that just are now really, in my mind, the new networks of the future, and are investing.
Being a broadcaster, I hate to hear that, but
I know, it's a different
I know
world.
it's true.
Yeah. But the good news is those companies actually want to partner with and are partnering with traditional broadcasters and other content providers because they need content. I mean, they are our distribution channel. And
but that ultimately brings a better product to our audiences, and we can better serve them.
100%, yeah, 100%. So there are opportunities in it. Yes, I mean, I think all of that disruption can be a little bit scary sometimes, and it sort of says, gee, it is changing. But I think there is lots and lots of opportunity, and again, the folks who have good content ultimately will find a way to thrive in this kind of environment, and broadcasters certainly do have that kind of good content. But back to what's exciting, I mean, I think what we're seeing, things that are interesting now are kind of leaning towards IT and software, believe it or not. Again, we used to be a very hardware-driven business, but now, like a lot of things, shifting to much more about data, software. So what you're seeing over there are things like artificial intelligence. How does that play into the media business? Well, what you're trying to do there is basically make your content smarter, right? So make it more searchable from a audience perspective. Make it easier for you to serve it up in a way that makes sense to that audience. So this is digging down deep into the content, breaking it up into the bits and bytes, and ultimately being able to just break it up, serve it up, search it in any way you could possibly want it, which from a consumer's perspective is great because you'll literally be able to find anything you want when you want, at the snap of your fingers.
Which is really what the consumer wants these days.
Yep.
So, and I know there are a lot of new exciting things that you have this year. I think we have a graphic that actually lists all of those things at NAB Show. What's new for 2018, Chris?
Yeah, we've been working hard to reach out to new audiences, and some of these will definitely be, very relevant to the Las Vegas community. Something like esports, for example. This is another element of our business that you might not see woven into the fabric of media, but esports is becoming big business, and now content companies and advertisers are following that. We talked about sports and sports entertainment. We have a business of sports program that's really important. Game development. Game development's another sort of adjunct piece to this equation because the tools and technologies that folks require for that, very similar to the tools and technologies used for every other media. And so a lot of these things are converging in a way that's really interesting. And so we're working hard to kind of bring in these new audiences to the mix.
I bet cybersecurity, your cybersecurity summit's going to be huge.
Yeah, everybody's concerned about data security, no doubt about it. And in the media business, we have people who are sitting on huge, huge libraries of content. And of course, as people begin to look for better ways to store and serve that, they're looking at more software-driven technologies, including the cloud, which is very efficient for that, but that's also very scary, right? Because now you're trusting your content, and these are you think about companies in the studio side of the equation or TV productions, they have libraries and libraries of great content, and to trust that now to a cloud service is a little bit scary because you're not seeing it, feeling it, and touching it the way you used to. So yeah, cybersecurity, and given some of the very public challenges that have occurred for big media companies, and it's hit everybody. It's hit broadcasters as well. It's amazing that now you have cyber attacks and hackers that have the ability to break into signals and literally shut down stations and or take over a signal, which is even scarier. So those kinds of things, it's a tough one because I think everybody's interested in it, but it is really at the core an IT challenge, and so that again is not something that our business has been as focused on in the past. So for us, having education, having programs that focus on that is really important.
So it's also like a great service, all of these new things that you're bringing to the NAB Show this year. So we appreciate that because I've loved going to NAB Show myself. This year's theme for the NAB Show is the MET Effect. Can you tell us a little about that?
Sure, stands for Media, Entertainment, and Technology Effect. And basically what we're trying to say there is this stuff's all converging, right? But it's converging in a really interesting way, and in a way that's driving really incredible synergy and opportunity. You think about it, we've talked a bit about some of these technologies that are driving some of this change. And as we said, there's two sides to it. Part is scary, but on the other hand, in each wave of that's occurred, there has always been kind of a next wave of opportunity and a new wave of players that have come into the mix because of that. So, if you think about the media side as the distribution platform, if you think about the entertainment side then as the content itself, and the technology as the underlying piece that's driving all of that, I mean, these things the Met effect is really something like, being able to sit in a football stadium and actually on your phone get augmented data about what's happening on the floor, even a view into that stadium that you're not seeing from your seat in that stadium. Again, so that is a mobile technology, that is a in-stadium technology, that's a fan-based technology. All of these things, again, converging where they all used to be very separate and distinct kinds of approaches and disciplines to this. It's all coming together in a way that's really, I think, yielding some pretty exciting things for consumers, and I think opportunity ultimately for the companies in the business.
So it sounds like at the NAB show, you're combining technology with the historical, traditional media that we've known, and you're really taking convention space to a new level, like nobody's business, as we say on the show.
Right.
So that's exciting for you. You're really at the forefront of your industry.
Well, we'd like to think so. It does keep us up at night a little bit, just trying to figure out where this is all going to head, and ultimately, who the real drivers will be, ultimate, winners in that equation. I mentioned, again, some of those new players that are in the mix, and we don't know. They are massive and certainly big influences. What direction will they take in the future, and how will that evolve? So, yeah, we do see it being very different. I mean, we see conventions evolving as well. I mean, the traditional, this type of format that NAB represents, the NAB show, has been around for hundreds of years. Mm-hmm. Back to bazaars, and it's this simple act of just setting up a table in a town square and showing your wares. That type of thing is kind of what this is. But people are trying to do business differently, and they're going to change the way they do business, I think, in the future. So it's incumbent upon us to be able to provide an engaging experience for whoever comes over to the show, and to go kind of beyond just what might be shown on the bazaar table or in those exhibits. So we do try to add elements that really help get people engaged, that help teach them sort of what those trends are all about, and then give the companies that are trying to reach them a better way to tell that story.
You talk a lot about the future, and that's something that I think all industries, businesses in Las Vegas and all over the world are always thinking about the future. If you could get out your crystal ball, what would you predict for the future of the NAB show and conventions, and of course this industry as well?
That's a huge question. And yeah, if I had the perfect answer and the perfect crystal ball, I'd probably be doing something else. But yeah, I think it's, we really do see a world where what we're trying to show is that interaction of all of these pieces and the interaction of all of those companies. So for us, it becomes a combination almost of a perhaps traditional trade show, but even more than that, a full integrated demonstration area. So it's hard to explain that, but I think, for example, if we were to work more closely with a company like Google on everything that they are doing and doing in this space in particular, that would include not only, YouTube and YouTube showing everything it's doing on the content side, but they have their own virtual reality headset. Mm-hmm. So it would include a virtual reality, sort of demo and demo area. It would include 360 cameras. It would include, again, they're doing so many different things. We need to be able to tell that story. And then more importantly, we need to be able to explain the companies that they're working with to make all of that stuff happen. So then we would inject broadcasters, and we would inject others who are providing adjunct technologies that make all of that stuff work. So it's just different than here's your space, here's your space, here's your space. It's an integrated sort of presentation. It's a little bit like, one of my favorite events is an event called South by Southwest, which is held in another city that we won't name, but that event has become this amazing sort of mix of, it used to be a music festival that's evolved into a digital and film festival. So it has consumer components and now a B2B component. It includes brand and brand activation, so it's become a big place for brands to actually show off their wares, but with a technology slant. And so it's this really interesting amalgamation of things that drives an enormous energy and attention and interest. And so I see events like ours that have had a more traditional model evolving to that, where we perhaps have a bit more of a consumer facing element as well, where we're helping take what we do, which is much more the back end, and explaining then ultimately how it impacts consumers and where consumers would be interested. So it could be, we have our own film festival and or content festival on the front end of NAB. So I think those are where there's some kind of interesting, exciting opportunities.
Wow, that is so exciting. So there's a lot to look forward to for the NAB show.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, so speaking of consumer facing, residents, it's open to the public, so anybody can go to NAB show, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
I think we have information on that as well as to how you can find out about it. The NAB show, where content comes to life, is April 7th through the 12th. At the Las Vegas Convention Center, or you could go to nabshow.com. And I think, Chris, there's a special Las Vegas Metro Chamber special code that people can access?
Yeah, PA184, PA184 will give you a discount on a guest pass code to the show. And yeah, absolutely, we'd love to have folks locally come over. If you're a professional in this business, you have an interest in this business, lots and lots to see. So yeah, please do come by.
Well, wonderful. I sure appreciate it. And, just one last question. I know you're members of the Las Vegas Metro Chamber of Commerce, and we really appreciate that. If we can be of service to you in any way, we will. What are some of the things that you're looking to get and that you have gotten out of your relationship with the Chamber?
Well, first and foremost, you've been great in kind of connecting us to the local community, and we're anxious to get even more deeply involved in that as well. It's interesting, even though we've been coming here for a long, long time, we think about our event globally, and we haven't thought about it as much as we should locally. And as we talked at the front end here, it's such a great entertainment town, and so many professionals in this business. That do what we do and are interested in what we would have. And so you've helped, I think, number one, give us exposure to that market, which is very, very valuable, and we appreciate it. You've been able to introduce us to some important folks. So we're interested in meeting other organizations that are connected to the media business. Whether that's unions, guilds, associations, festivals, folks that organize other things that relate to what we do. We're interested in all of that, and then we'd like to get to know even just down to the local production companies that do a lot of the local work, and that are the true professionals that know how to do this stuff. So would love to get them more involved.
Well, great. I think we can help you do that. So thank you again, Chris Brown, who is the Executive Vice President of Convention and Business Operations for the National Association of Broadcasters.
Great.
Thank you again for bringing the NAB show to Las Vegas. We really appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
And we look forward to seeing you on another show in the near future.
Great.
And thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Like Nobody's Business. We'll see you next time.